an appeal meeting today for March 27th to order. And if we'll stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll do the roll call.
Member Small?
Here.
Member Mulholland?
Here.
Chair Bomar?
Here, I'm sorry.
We have a quorum.
Okay, let's see. We'll have the approval of the agenda. Is there any?
No changes.
No changes?
No, sir.
Okay. And if there are anybody in the audience that want to make comments today, I'm going to have you stand and be sworn in. So
We just
anybody?
need a motion for the approval of the agenda.
Okay. I'll make a motion where we approve the agenda.
I second.
Yes. Yes.
All in favor?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Anyone who will be speaking to the board or making a presentation needs to be sworn in. Please stand, raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the information or factual representation that you are about to give or present to the board is truthful? Thank you.
Okay. And we'll have the approval of the minutes for the February 28th meeting.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the February 28, 2024 meeting of the Board of Adjustment.
Second. Roll call.
Member Small?
Yes.
Member Mulholland?
Yes.
Vice Chair Bomar?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, today we have only 3 members, so just want to let everybody know that has a case before us. It will take a super majority of a yes vote for you to have an approval of your case. So if anybody who has a case would like to continue it, you can do that.
Correct. So the code requires 3 votes regardless of the quorum present. Therefore, you need all 3 yeses in order to get your variance approved today. So we're offering you an opportunity to continue it to April. If not, you can proceed, and we'll start with case 4A. Seeing none?
Okay. Okay. 4A.
Correct.
May I have the presentation, please? Good evening, afternoon, everyone. Kristen Coleman, Community Development Director. We're going to start off with variance case number 24012, located at 510 78th Avenue. The request is for an unnecessary and an undue hardship variance. Thomas D'Ampert is the owner, requesting to replace the existing residential storage building with the proposed 160 square foot, 9 foot 1 inch high residential storage building that exceeds the maximum size requirement of 80 square feet and maximum building height where 8 feet is permitted. Listing of exhibits. So here is an aerial of the property. The subject property is outlined in red. It is an interior parcel. It's approximately 5,000 square feet, and it's located near the intersection of Gulf Boulevard and 78th Avenue. It is surrounded by single-family residential uses to the north, south, east, and west. The property is located within the RLM 1 residential zone, residential low medium, or RLM, on the future land use map. Again, the property is requesting to remove the existing residential storage building and install new, which is oversized with 160 square feet where 80 square feet is permitted, and a height taller than what is permitted at 9 foot 1 inches and 8 feet is permitted. So this property may look a little familiar to some of you on the board. It was a recipient of prior Board of Adjustment approval, and that was back in 2022 with case number 22013, also a practical difficulty variance request for a patio cover which encroached approximately 3 feet into the side yard setback where 5 feet was required, and 12 feet into the rear yard setback where 15 feet was required. It did return back last year in 2023 for a modification of the conditions that were imposed on the development order previously for the prior case. And with that, they did amend the conditions, or you guys did, the board, to be altered and replaced with 2 other conditions, which I have located here. And this is just the layout of what the prior Board of Adjustment approval was for that pergola. And currently, the survey showing existing conditions and also the proposed residential storage building and its location. So on the bottom middle part of your screen, that is the existing residential storage structure that will be removed and replaced with the new one, which is located to the right side of your screen in the red box. Here's just a pretty picture of what the proposed storage structure will look like. It is a pre-manufactured shed. And now I'm going to bring you on to the property. Noticing was completed as required. The legal ad was published and notices mailed on March 13th, and the sign posted March 19th on the property. Here's a front view of the property. Again, single-family residential to the east, and adjacent property to the west, also single-family. So going on to the property, this is looking towards the rear of the property. On the eastern side, looking to the rear, you'll see the pergola that was previously approved by the Board of Adjustment. And just spanning to the west a little so you can see the existing rear yard. And here's a better picture of the existing residential storage structure that's going to be removed. Some other views. And the applicant has stated that if you look where the adjacent property, they also have a residential storage structure, that is going to be placed on the concrete in front of that structure, but within their property. So the variance criteria and comments, that was located in the staff findings report. So also located within the staff findings report, staff did have comments that the applicant should be prepared to provide their own testimony and respond to staff comments, and that would include the applicant should provide testimony as to the materials to be stored on or within the proposed building. The applicant should give details on any proposed material to stabilize the area where the current storage building is to be removed, such as landscaping. And the applicant should provide testimony as to how the stormwater runoff is or shall be directed and maintained on the property to ensure compliance with Land Development Code Section 6.13B3. In addition, not included on this slide, but I just wanted to reiterate that as per Land Development Code Section 6.13B5C, requires a minimum separation of 6 feet from an accessory structure. So that would be that pergola that currently exists. And I just want confirmation that it would meet that. It appears it could, but just to provide testimony on that. With that, staff finds the request is reasonable, will not have an adverse impact on the neighborhood. Staff recommends approval as proposed. And with this application, I received no letters and objection or support. The applicant is here and is welcome to come up.
Would the applicant like to come forward?
Good afternoon. Tom DeAmpert, 510 78th Avenue, St. Pete Beach. What I'm in the process of trying to do is to remove an older, not dilapidated, but a structure that needs to be replaced so that it's more attractive to the neighborhood, and replace it with another structure that backs up to a another storage unit that is the same height, the same width, and in light construction, except that my storage unit will be a pre-engineered wind velocity storage unit manufactured by Tough Shed. All engineering drawings are HV for high velocity zones, and I have a complete set of those drawings that will be submitted with the with this selection. The one thing that I can say if I can here, just to give you a little bit clearer. Yeah, maybe that's just one. Okay. If you see the turquoise roof, that is the roof that's on the pergola. It's a canvas roof. And the pergola, by the way, has no surrounding wall structures. It's purely that. It's a shade structure. Where you see the RV, that's where the structure is going to go. It'll be placed approximately 11 feet 9 inches away from the pergola, much farther than where you see the RV placed. That RV was there on site for 4 years, and it'll be put on an existing driveway. The one to be removed is over dirt, so that will open up more pervious water so that the groundwater can be absorbed. It will be landscaped. This structure will be hurricane tied. They're bolt and fastened, not just strapped, but they're actually bolt and strapped into the driveway. It's placed in a location where it's nothing is ever hidden from everybody. But however, there's no visibility from my neighbors to the east and the west, or the south of the structure. If you're driving down the street, I suppose you could look past a gate, you know, a vinyl gate, but there would be a nice shed painted there. To be stored in the will be lawn and garden materials, wood, the kind of things that if you your photograph that you had that showed us a picture of my neighbor, that material will then be stored inside rather than in the yard. It's just a storage shed. No living, no electricity, no components, none of that. And the stormwater, while sheds can be put on the property line as long as they don't drain water onto, I'm not sure exactly the proper language, but they can't shed water onto your neighbor's property. This shed will be 18 inches off the property line as required by the tough shed so that they can get to it. So the water retention on the property, it'll go just down onto the driveway and drain just like it would today with no additional runoff at all. See, that's stormwater. That's what were the 4 conditions that you had?
6 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually 11 feet
Right.
off of there, 18 inches off the property line. I think I've touched on everything that you brought up.
Yes, sir, you did. Appreciate that.
Do you have any questions?
No, I think you've addressed everything well.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your consideration.
Question?
I have a number of questions.
Oh, okay. Hold on a second.
Sure.
Yes, sir, I do have a number of questions, some of them more procedural and then some specific. So you've had, I guess, 1 variance for this property. So you've owned it forever. Have you lived there as long as you've owned it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you've had 1 other variance, and that was for the
Pergola.
pergola. Okay. So there's no open permits or variances
No,
on
sir.
the property right now. So it's a hardship application. You've owned the property for 38 years, I guess. Why is it now a hardship that you need this oversized storage building?
Well, for a number of those years, I was single. And my house is a Sears kit house. It's actually 900 square feet. It is a 3-bedroom house, supposedly, but when you have a wife, you have a 1-bedroom and a sewing. There's no room in the house to store anything. And I want to remove that aluminum shed, which is a Wally Watt shed, and it's served its purpose. But that's why I want to.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my issue is, and I'm not saying that you can't satisfy my issue, but you're asking for twice the permitted size. Did you consider something smaller?
Well,
100 square feet, or was like, well, if I got to get a variance, I may as well go for broke and ask for a really big place?
Okay. First off, I did not go for broke on this one. This is actually one of the smaller. It's 10 by 16 shed, so it's one of the smaller sheds. It is, and you can't shrink it, or it's pre-engineered. So it is what it is.
Right, but there's other brands potentially available.
There are other
Not to cut
brands,
you
but I
off.
found none to be as hurricane sufficient as this. I researched many of them. I wanted to make sure that whatever I put on my property doesn't place any of their surrounding properties on any peril from, even though some of them could be strapped down, they may not be strapped down as good. I went and reviewed this. The hurricane strapping that they have from the roof all the way down is just like I would build it if I was going to build one.
I mean, my inclination would be, because of the size and how much larger it is, above what's standard code, to frown on something that size. But I will say, I recognize you've been a long-term resident. I did visit the site. It appears as if there's probably, you're surrounded by VRBOs, maybe? Is that? A lot of your neighbors are not
I'm not going to make that.
residents?
Obviously, VRBOs are something that I don't want to talk about somebody else's property. The property to the east and the west are both rental properties.
Yeah.
I don't know them to be short-term rentals at all. And to answer the other part of your question, as far as size and consistency with the neighborhood, the shed that's directly in back of mine is that same size. So it's going to back up to one within a couple of feet of one that's the same height, the same width.
Thank you. I just wanted to get that straight in my mind. I see this as a relatively big ask beyond what the code says, and I just wanted to be comfortable with being able to say that I agreed with it. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Has anybody,
If I may, just real quick, Chair Bomar, you brought up a good point with the site visit. Does anyone have any ex parte communications they'd like to disclose?
No.
I know it's a little out of order, but site visits being one of them.
Yeah, actually, I had a note I was going to
Yeah.
ask you about.
Perfect.
Yes, I visited both sites.
Okay.
I walked around. I didn't go on either of the properties, but I did essentially walk the entire perimeter of both properties that we're considering today.
Okay. Bomar?
okay?
Nothing?
No.
Nothing from you?
Oh, no.
Okay. Sorry about that. Thank you.
No
Yeah,
ex parte,
no problem.
Yes.
Does anybody in the audience have any comments, would like to speak to either for or against?
Could I make one additional comment?
Sure.
And I started thinking about your concerns, and while I understand those, that RV that's sitting there is a 30-foot RV. It stands 12 feet tall and was parked legally without any kind of hurricane strapping, any kind of hurricane protection. And so this new structure will actually be a smaller structure than what was there with the RV. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we don't have any audience comments. I'll close that section. Do we have any conversation from the board?
No, I think he satisfied the criterias that were asked for, and it's not,
And I understand you only have like 2-foot deep closets in the house. So you have very little storage. Okay.
Joe, did you have something you wanted to add?
No, the gentleman satisfied my concerns.
Well, based on the evidence presented and all the criteria met, I propose that we go ahead and approve case number 24012 as proposed.
I second.
Okay, roll call?
Member Mulholland?
Yes.
Member Small?
Yes.
Vice Chair Bomar?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next will be case number 24002, 2909 Sunset Way.
Okay, and we'll do this one in order. Is there any ex parte communication? I know you said, but for the record, you can just go ahead and state it again.
Yes, I walked around the site, all sides. Obviously, I did not go on the neighbor's property, but I walked the front and the back a couple of times to view just what they were requesting, and that's my only communications. I had no communication with anyone, but I did visit the property.
Okay. Anyone else?
No.
None? None?
None.
Thank you.
Okay. I just want to remind the next applicant that you will need a supermajority to get approval. So if you decided you'd like to continue it to next month, you can do that. I just want to remind you of that. Okay. Guess we'll go ahead with the next case.
Okay, if I could have the PowerPoint, please. Okay, continuing on, variance case number 24002. Applicant is Brian Ongst Jr. for Olin and Elise Lippincott. Property is located at 2909 Sunset Way, and they're requesting a practical difficulty variance to Land Development Code Section 6.13C1B and 6.13C2B to construct an elevated rear deck and in-ground pool that exceeds 2 feet in height to allow for the encroachment of an elevated rear deck into the required 5-foot yard setbacks with 2 feet proposed, side yard setback, I'm sorry, with 2 feet proposed, and required 20-foot rear yard setback with 0 feet proposed. Also requesting relief from Land Development Code Section 6.22B to construct a 3rd floor open unroofed terrace to allow for the encroachment into the 17-foot required rear yard setback with 9 feet 7 inches proposed. Okay, the listing of exhibit. The subject property is outlined in red. It is an interior parcel. It's approximately 6,500 square feet. It has single-family residences to the north and south, Sunset Way, and a single-family residence to the east, and beach recreation and open space to the west. The property is located in the RU2 residential zone within the Paso Grill overlay zone. This property, is received prior Board of Adjustment approval also for an encroachment. So in 2020, case number 20040, they were approved for a practical difficulty variance to allow for the encroachment of an elevated deck into the required rear setback with 9-foot setback proposed, and with the condition that any elevated deck railing used for the rooftop seating area shall be open and designed to the extent possible under the Florida Building Code. Here is a survey showing the existing conditions. And here is part of the request. So there's a lot going on with this, and I just want to let you know that this is part of a larger renovation project under building permit number 2302052, which includes interior and exterior renovations, and also addressing driveway layout and landscaping. And here's just a enlarged version of the request to the rear of the dwelling at the top. So you would see the setbacks requested for the proposed pool, an elevated patio, as well as the rear request. And then in the lighter shade of pinkish reddish, that is solid, that would be the location of the proposed terrace. And here's the proposed rear elevation that kind of just shows you what the rear would look like with that 3rd floor. And here's a comparison. So that way you can see what was existing, what was previously approved by the prior Board of Adjustment approval. And if you see on the bottom left-hand side, they're looking to go up on the existing, but it's open and unroofed, but still encroaches into the rear yard, requiring the relief. And just more of the variance request detail that was also in your staff findings report, And I just wanted to note that if the pool and the patio were 2 feet or less in height above grade, the rear yard setback for the pool would be 5 foot to the pool's water edge, 4 feet to the coping, and 2 feet for the patio. Okay. Noticing was completed as required, legal ad published, and notices mailed on March 13th, and the sign posted on the property on March 19th. Here is the current front of the dwelling. This is the adjacent neighbor to the south, which also received, may look familiar, received prior Board of Adjustment approval. And here is the adjacent neighbor to the north. And we're going to enter onto the property along the southern property line, looking west. Just following back, continuing west. And here is the current state of the rear yard. Now this, I believe, is the current layout or proposed layout of the pool, and the applicant can provide testimony, but I just wanted to provide you a visual of what is currently on the property right now. And this would be the side yard property along the northern. And stepping off of the rear patio and looking back towards the rear of the dwelling, they currently do utilize 2 steps to get up to their patio that exists now. Just a further step out towards the beach on that one. Various criteria and comments also located within my staff findings report. So with that, the applicant should be prepared to provide their own testimony and respond to the staff comments that were also provided in my staff findings report. The applicant should discuss the request to elevate the patio and if any alternative plans were considered, and provide testimony on the proposed changes, including the existing grade and proposed pool location. There will be a grade change from the property directly to the north of the subject property, and testimony on what property conditions will look like due to the grade change should be addressed. And I can go back to that picture if you want to see a more visual representation of that. And the applicant should advise if there are any plans to construct a fence or install vegetation along the adjacent northern property line that will soften or buffer the view of the elevated patio, but still maintain views. It is noted that the building permit application that I previously referenced that was submitted does reference a 4-foot-high aluminum fence. Staff does find the request will not have an adverse impact on the neighborhood and find the interest of justice will be served in granting the variance. Staff recommends approval with the following conditions. The condition of prior variance case number 20040 contained within the executed development order that any elevated deck railing used for the rooftop seating area shall be open in design to the extent possible under the Florida Building Code shall also be applied to this approval. The proposed third-floor terrace and lower patio level shall not be enclosed or roofed by any means, permanent or temporary, and shall remain open and may not be enclosed in such a manner as to be construed as living space. Fencing to secure the pool may not exceed an overall height of 4 feet from grade as shown on the application for building permit 2101068. An applicant shall submit a sealed as-built survey noting all setbacks, impervious surface ratio calculations, and approved by zoning prior to the issuance of the certificate of occupancy. With this application, I did receive 1 letter in support, which was included in your packet. The other one that I did receive in opposition was provided to you. That is all I have. If you have any questions for me.
Not for you.
I think it's more appropriate sometimes to hear from the applicant.
Yeah, I would think so.
If the applicant would like to come forward.
I have no idea.
Interesting.
This is Clay Gilman on behalf of Brian Ongst, who's here on behalf of the Lippincotts. I think Kristen did a great job covering the request. We had a PowerPoint ourselves, but it's going to be duplicative of what she already went through. I talked to her yesterday, and we agreed that that's pretty much the case. I have some of the design and construction team here to address the comments with regard to the elevation changes and the grade changes. But if you have any other specific questions with regard to legal, I can answer those, but otherwise I'll turn it over to the design team to answer these specific questions.
Could you repeat what you just said again, if we had any questions?
Just any other questions other than these that Kristen provided in the staff report? I think the design team probably be more suited to answer those, but I'm saying if you have any other questions specifically for me with regard to legal, I'd be happy to.
Well, I have a number of questions. You may need to defer to the owners. I guess they are present, is that correct?
They are, but I guess it depends. If you guys want to answer this.
So I do have one procedural question. Sir?
Yes.
I'm sorry, what was your name?
Clay Gilman.
Clay, I'm assuming you're with McFarland, Ferguson?
Yes,
and
I'm here on behalf of Brian.
Did you happen to fill out a lobbyist registration form? 'Cause I know Brian did.
I did not. Brian did.
Okay. I'll have to take a look at that. I think what he's referring to, Member Mulholland, is he's an attorney that can't give expert testimony. He can only make legal arguments. So I think what he's trying to get at is he has his experts here to kind of delve through and answer questions on the specific conditions and concerns. And if there's any legal arguments, then he can step back up and
That's correct.
make those.
And are the owners willing to answer questions if I were to have a couple for them?
I don't know if I know all the logistics, but I would be happy to.
Okay. Well, some of them are procedural, and then there's a couple specific questions I just needed to get satisfied in my mind. So they've owned the property how long?
Why don't you come on up?
And ma'am, I think I saw you walk in after the swearing,
I apologize.
after the swearing in.
Tampa.
Do you mind just getting sworn in real quick by the clerk? Thank you.
Do you swear or affirm that the information or factual representation that you are about to give to the board is truthful?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you've owned the property how long, ma'am?
We closed in July of 2020, I
Okay.
think.
And this is
2020.
the second variance request, or has there been?
Correct.
So, the house has not been lived in for some time. It doesn't appear to have anyway. But it's listed as your primary residence.
Correct. We do stay there. We still have our residence in Tampa. I was born and raised in Tampa. I still have a large footprint there. And we try to stay at the house over the weekends. We have a very large family. We have 6 children, and I have parents that are still living, and my husband's mother's still living. So we really do try to use it as much as we can, but our long-term plan is to move over full-time.
Okay. Are you still registered to vote in Hillsborough?
No, I changed it.
Okay, okay. So this property is homesteaded and it's going to be
Correct.
your primary residence?
Correct.
But it is not your primary residence right now. Is that because it's under
I mean, it
construction?
depends what month, because if Carmen is under construction, then we were not using it as much, but it's been kind of dormant for about 6 months, so we've been staying there more often.
Yeah. I'm not suggesting there's anything nefarious going on, but to me, you're making a significant ask here, and I just want to understand that you're going to be, or that you are a permanent resident,
Well, and
and there's not some other intended use for this property.
yes, it's going to be our permanent residence, but just to give you a little history with it, it's a 100-year-old home. It was built by Thomas Rowe, who built the Dawn. And we were able to buy the property because my husband knew the owner of 36 years, Guy and Debbie Burns. And one of the stipulations that was a gentleman's handshake was, please don't tear it down, because it wasn't protected. So I have a large family. I'm trying to bring it into the modern world, make it a forever house. And that's why it's been a big project. And originally, Strobel was my contractor, and I had to fire him. And I think if Carmen would have had it in the beginning, we wouldn't be doing 2 variances. It would have been done correctly from the beginning. So that might be why it looks kind of funny, because it was started in one way, and then I had to, make changes, and I've hired the right person, and super happy with them. And we're just trying to finish it properly so we can kind of go forward and not have to revisit it every few years. I have a
So you
growing
may,
family.
excuse me, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
So you may have answered my next question. So the existing deck, I think it's 17 feet or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah. So the existing deck was installed when?
So when you say, oh, the second story.
Right, I apologize, yes, the second,
Yeah, last year.
second.
Last year?
Last year. So why did you not request the third story at that same variance request, as opposed to coming back and asking for it again? I don't understand what happened.
So I think, if I remember correctly, I begged Carmen to take our job. And he's super busy, and he does really beautiful work. And I just said, finish it the way it is, and then we'll kind of take it and try to and finish it the way that I really want it. And for me, I just didn't want it to sit for a year and a half. Everybody at that time, if you recall, every builder, every pool person was, I'll talk to you in 2.5 years, you know? And for me, it was just this desire to get it done. My parents are in their 90s. My dad loves Pass a Grill. I want him to have accessibility. That's another reason that I want to be able to elevate the back so that he can see the beach without having to walk 200 feet out to it. And, you know, it was really a decision that was made to finish what I could and then readdress it after we finished it so that we didn't have to go back to square one.
So hopefully just one more question for you. So one of the significant arguments that you made in your application for the raised patio, now I'm not talking about the second floor now, I'm talking the first floor, the pool deck.
Okay.
Was the fact that, as you've already alluded to, there's elderly parents in the family, and you had mentioned wheelchair access. Are they currently wheelchair bound, or are you just anticipating that they may be?
He's very stubborn. He really should be using a walker, but he's using a cane. And I think my niece just was married out at the beach 6 months ago, and we put in a walkway, like a wooden slat walkway, all the way out to the beach, and he barely got out there. I had a bench put in. My intention for him is to use a wheelchair because it's exhausting for him. By the time he goes out almost 300 feet, he's just out of breath. And so yes, my intention is to do some kind of a ramp where the stairs are that I can take up and fold or whatever when he's there and take him down to the beach.
So I guess that's what I was actually trying to understand. I thought that, and we may get to this with the designers or the builders, the request is to elevate that entire rear deck, which would eliminate the need for the stairs that come out of those ground floor patio. Is that not correct?
It depends how it ends, because if we reappropriate the dirt that comes out of the ground that we're going to build the pool with, and remember there's a grandfathered old sidewalk that is no longer a public sidewalk. So if my thought is, well, if that sidewalk is no longer a sidewalk, then we should put the dirt there and let dune grass grow there. And that would elevate the walkway so that we could just walk right onto the walkway and not have those steps. But I'm not really sure, how that's going to end up, but I have a design background, and as a designer, that would be where I would fix it, but I don't want to encroach on our neighbors or get anybody upset, but I would repurpose that dirt and fill in that grandfathered area because the city wanted initially for that to go back to nature. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's like 4 blocks.
I walked, I
Okay,
was back
so
there twice.
and there was been lots of fights about it, and.
But what I was really referring to is the steps coming out of the house.
Oh, okay. I'm
Those
sorry. I
steps.
thought you were talking about at the edge going out to the beach.
No,
My apologies.
No, I was
Okay.
referring to the steps coming, when you come out of your main
Right.
floor, there's like 3 steps
Yep.
that go down to what would currently be your pool deck if you had a pool.
Correct.
And obviously, everybody wants elevated decks and all those things, but the reality is you have enough room to put a wheelchair ramp on that patio the way it's currently configured. Would you not agree with that?
I mean, we're not tall people. My dad is shrunk. He'll never see the water from there, but it's really I think it's a usability and a visibility that we're looking for in terms of the home and being able to utilize the back. I know in reality, we probably would not use it as much because every time, my parents came over, they would not want to go outside. So,
And that, your second floor patio, we've talked about that before, it's really big. I mean, it sticks out way further than any of the immediate neighbors. And that's the one that I believe is currently supposed to have 17 feet, and it has 9.7 feet of setback.
are you talking about the Hellers just south of us?
No, I believe he's
No,
talking
I'm
about your
talking-
current.
You mind if I?
No, please do, because I see you seem to be agitated back there, so by all means, come on out and say what you'd like to say.
Well, that was approved and built
Yes.
with a variance, so I don't know why we're even talking about
Discussing
that.
that.
Because they're asking for a third floor one, and I'm sitting on this board today. I wasn't here before, so if we're going to approve of another one, I want to be certain that I approve of it. There's nothing I can do about what happened before, but if we're going to continue to add things, then, I have a vote on it.
Yeah,
I want,
what I was saying was,
satisfied
that
with
was
mine.
already a variance that was approved, that was built,
Which one?
and
Yes, so the prior case number 20040 in 2020, that was for the elevated deck with the 9-foot setback. So looking at the survey, it appears that the overall dimensions are 27.46 feet, and the depth is 11.97 feet, current size.
so anyway, sir, do I still have the floor, Mr.?
oh yeah, go right ahead. I just was,
So, yes.
You're doing your job.
Pardon me?
I'm just talking to Michael.
So I wanted to help clarify the pool level deck, okay? I think there was a little confusion going on there. So it was our understanding, the architects and myself, that the city code allows a deck to be elevated up to 24 inches, okay? The current deck that is proposed is only 24 inches above the existing grade of the property. Okay, there was some confusion, okay, when the pool applicant put in for his pool permit, he called the grade of the sidewalk on the west side of the property the existing grade, which is actually 2 steps down lower than the grade of the property. Okay, so that's where the confusion came in with the elevated deck. We don't believe that the deck at all should be in for the variance, the elevated deck in the back. We're no higher than the property to the south of us, and we're no greater than 2 feet above the existing grade within the property lines. Okay, so now we are above 2 feet above the sidewalk, okay, but that's 2 feet down, 2 steps down, I should say, below the existing property line. So I mean, I hope that helps with the reason why she's asking for the deck. And it does help with the situation. All along, her main issue with the house was there's so many steps, and for her father to get around, we've been trying to eliminate steps around the house by raising floors and changing elevations, to make it easier. And this will allow from the main living to be able to be wheeled, straight out into, the pool deck area. And then to help with the upstairs, we're actually adding an elevator. That's part, not of the variance application, but part of the permit application to be able to get her father to the upstairs areas. So I don't know if that helps or not, but I wanted you to understand where we were with that with that raised pool deck.
It helps a little, but, and I understand if the neighbor did it, why can't I do it, or why shouldn't I be able to do it? I understand that argument, but where does it stop? You know, are we just going to say, basically, well, somebody did something and got away with it 20 years ago, I guess we should just let it continue on that way, and everybody gets to do it that way, and, you know, we have no control.
Sure. Well, we felt that the deck is within the city requirements. We don't feel that we're exceeding that. We're thinking that's a, you know, you may think, you know, we believe that it's average grade of the property, okay, is where you should be pulling a measurement for 2 feet for an elevated deck. If your measurement's 2 feet, it's average grade of the property, not one step down to an old abandoned sidewalk. Okay, that's where, so we didn't really feel that that was going to be part of the discussion at all. We felt, the upper deck may, because we knew we were building on top of already in a variance area. But it was kind of thrown in the mix here.
So can I ask a question, if you don't mind real quick? Were there, because I understand it's an older house, were there steps along the southern property line prior? Because I'm trying to understand the grade issue.
Okay, so.
Because it does look like it's.
I wish I could answer that question. We came in midstream. She had fired her contractor. The place was demolished when we took over the project. So I can't answer that. Now, I know down the north side, there's no steps. Okay, it's, from front to back, or so from east to west, there's no steps. Now, there's a pretty good grade change on the south side. There is. Yes.
And you are proposing, looking at the site plan with the proposed improvements, there are steps going to be located both on the north and south that are shown?
Well, with the elevated decks, yes.
Correct.
Correct. Yes, it would have to. But the deck it's a wooden deck. We're not bringing fill in, okay, back there. This is, the existing grade will stay the existing grade. Okay, this is just a raised wooden deck above it. Okay, so the water will perk through, okay, and go down to the natural grade. So we're not asking to bring fill into a floodplain. So we're not changing the natural flow of the water drainage.
So just so I understood what you just said, that you anticipate there to be steps off the ground floor pool deck to that back sidewalk, what used to be the sidewalk area.
Correct.
Which I think the one letter that we received when we arrived here today from a neighbor that was 2 houses down, he seems to be pretty exasperated by the thoughts of that and is concerned about people walking on the dunes and the like. Why is the steps so important? I mean, obviously, we all want everything we can get. I get that.
So there's existing steps there today, okay? So we're using those, but our deck is going to be elevated above, so we need a few more to get up.
Right, which means you're going to have to lengthen them, is that not correct?
No, we're not lengthening.
Or they're going to be in the property?
Bringing it back into the property.
Okay.
We're not sticking them out into the beach.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if the city's for it and everybody else on the board here is for it, the ground floor deck, I guess I could say that I'd be okay with it. I still am having trouble with the second floor that, as the chair already said, was previously approved, but now you're asking for a third floor, and it sticks out there a lot. There's no houses from the rear of that house or from the side where the beach access is. There were no properties that I could see that had decks that protruded into the rear setback anywhere near as much as that one does. And if you go up to a third floor on it, that just makes it worse, or exacerbates it
What is
more.
the rear encroachment on that deck?
So 17 feet is required because it's open and unroofed, where 9 foot, I believe 7 foot is proposed.
Okay.
So if it were happened to be, say, another roof over top of that, so it would be that third floor, that would require 20 feet.
Okay.
But it's still way into the setback.
How,
Could I interject something on that? Go ahead. On that deck, I'm the architect on the job.
If we can just get your name for the record.
Michael McCoy. I understand what you're saying about the deck, but we're not going out any further than it is now. We're within that same footprint.
I certainly hope not.
No. And obviously, we're unroofed. I mean, there's no roof over it. We're going to have cable railing and, for it to be as see-through and as transparent as we can. So I think aesthetically, from any neighbors or maybe even walking, I don't see any real adverse effect, to be honest with you. I mean, obviously, if we were roofing it, different story. But, we're just going up in that same footprint just to have an open deck, which, obviously then makes that upper floor enjoyable. I mean, obviously,
I get all that.
Yeah.
I live down that way too.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand all that, but, once again, where does it all stop?
No, I understand.
I mean, this is just an example here. We just,
Right.
the board previously, a year or so ago, approved the encroachment on the second floor, and a year or two later, you're back here and asking for the third floor. And
Well, and I will say, I think what the owner, what Elise mentioned earlier, that this probably would have all been done in one fell swoop under the right team. And so that, that's not your fault. That's, that's just the facts. It just, unfortunately, she had a team in there that really didn't know what they were doing. And, we're trying to put pieces together and do it the right way and be transparent, above board, and, follow the steps accordingly.
right, but you were the team that put the second floor patio balcony in, is that not
The
correct?
latest thing that's in here, yes. But I'm talking about the initial
I
request.
understand.
Because that was a different builder, different architect, different engineer.
Right, but most of that stuff, I don't think, had any encroachments. It's the more recent stuff that the second floor balcony, you were involved
The second floor was an encroachment.
Yes.
All of that, all that's on the back.
in. Right, but you were involved in that, is that not correct?
No.
Okay,
No. That's what I'm saying. We would have tackled all this in one fell swoop. We
Understand.
would have done it properly. But
Okay.
anyways, I just wanted to kind of explain about that upper terrace.
all right, thank you.
Just to add on to that, and I understand the concern with going further out. I mean, the previous variance was approved for the deck as it is. The request is just to go up. There is no more, encroaching into the setback. It's the exact same footprint as what was approved previously in the variance a year or so ago.
Okay, thank you. I just, I hope the applicant is going to be as present here as she had suggested she was going to, that this isn't somehow going to be some type of a flip property or something like that, because once again, like the previous gentleman, I feel like we're going quite outside what the code and the acceptable limits are, and if I have any say about it, at least I want to know that I feel good about the direction of where the project's going to go as it relates to the livability of the city.
Straight out.
That's all the questions I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Excuse me one second. Did you identify yourself for the record? I might have missed it.
Yeah, it's Carmen Peachin, P-I-C-I.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if you'd like the owner to get back up and restate, her intentions to live here, I think that is more than her intention. I mean, they're just, working through the process of getting this built.
It's not necessary for me, but thank you.
Not necessarily. So do we have any more?
I actually have some of the questions that I didn't have answered that I
Okay.
would have preferred testimony
All right,
on.
Kristen.
And that is to deal with the fencing along the northern property line. And if I could have the proposed, or the PowerPoint back up, please?
sorry.
So this is the northern property line, and I'm guessing where the current, like, wood structure would be kind of the, I guess, somewhere around the realm of the deck. Let me go forward one more. So currently, you can see, I'm not sure who erected the material.
Oh,
That's
there?
between, yeah.
I don't know.
My handyman?
Okay.
Well, yeah,
Uh,
just because it's really for the neighbors. I mean, there, a lot of 100-year-old podocarpus were there, and they were removed. And I am not even sure where the property line is, but
Okay.
I would probably just propose to, match whatever the Hellers did, whatever's easier. But I thought there was ambiguity where the property line was, so I'm just leaving it, and I put up, but it's like a mesh Home Depot, temporary, just to give them some property, some privacy, because they have a pool and they're using it. And I just felt bad for them, so.
Without getting into possible code issues with the height of that, and it definitely was not a permitted structure. That is in the area in which, on the building permit that was submitted, there's to be a 4-foot-high fence. So I'm just wanting to know, and if I go back one, in that area, that 4-foot-high fence would be located at that grade, not on top of the proposed deck.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yeah, I understand that. I had a question for Kristen.
Sure.
So the elevation that they started with when the pool guy first put in a permit, is the city, are you guys on the same page as where the elevation actually is, or what they're using as the elevation? I'm just curious, because it's kind of like, it seems like it's fluctuated, and I don't have an issue, I just wanted to know if the city...
As part of the pool permit review, when that came out, the reviewer caught the change of the grade. And because, yes, it is unique in the fact that, like, the front, as you go towards Sunset Way, but you can see on the proposed site plan, there are going to be steps up to that proposed deck as you come along around the side of the dwelling. And then they're adding on to what's already currently there. So depends on, I mean, you're walking, you're going up steps. It is going to be elevated additional, and that was, our interpretation of that, and that's why it's required. But I did check with the building official to make sure if this is elevated, they put the pool in there. If the fence is located at grade, and I wanted to confirm that it was, that would meet code and it would be considered secure, which she advised me that would be the case. Because I didn't want additional 4-foot-high fencing on top of the deck, just for visibility.
But the elevation of the pool deck itself is in compliance with what the city feels is
No,
the
that's,
correct-
they're requesting the variance for that.
So they're requesting the variance, but you still feel like that 2 feet, that's not grade, but they feel it's grade?
Correct.
Correct?
Correct.
Okay. I just was not sure on how the city felt on that.
Yeah, and while I can appreciate that, we're not here to modify the application.
No, we're not. No.
That will be something that, if you approve, will be included in the approval.
Right.
Yeah, that's the main.
But it is confusing because there's 3 steps down to the beach
condition.
walkway.
Which will be more, and then now, if I go back, can I have the PowerPoint again? Just go back. Yeah, okay, so looking from here, from Sunset, looking towards the beach, it's pretty flush, right? So if we go one more, we're there, you will now have steps in that area according to the site plan.
To come up 2 feet.
Yeah, let me go back. So you can see in the bubble to the left side, there's steps, and on the other side where we know there wasn't previously steps by the previous picture.
While you're up here, I had one more question. The deck of the second floor, or the upper deck, so how do you remove some of the roof and put that in there so the roof becomes a deck?
On the highest level?
That will be the highest level, yeah.
Yeah, we just cut the overhang back, yeah.
And then that'll be a,
It's like a little dormer access out to it. Through the, it's like an attic storage space up there.
okay. And that's, what kind of deck is that? Is that going to be a wooden or concrete or
No, that's going to be tile
tiled over wood?
over wood, correct?
I was just curious.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have any other questions for the applicants?
You.
Kristen, did you cover what you wanted to cover there?
I think I did. I appreciate that.
Okay.
So with this one, if the board's going to make there are recommended conditions in the staff report from staff that I think I would like the applicant's attorney or someone to consent to for the record if possible. Unless the board wants to modify them, but if we want to go back and forth, I would just like their consent before moving forward with any type of approval.
Yeah, we can absolutely consent to the conditions as proposed on the staff report here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can we bring that up on the overhead again, your,
The conditions?
yeah, your suggestion? Just so we've got it. Okay.
There you go.
Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion? If we don't have any other comments, correct?
Do we have any comments?
I don't think
We
we
have
have-
discussion?
Any public comment? No.
Any public comment? We've had-
Sorry. Yeah, there's
Any
nobody here.
deliberations?
I propose following, as long as all conditions are met, which I think we've pretty much addressed here today, that the board go ahead and approve case 24002.
With the recommended conditions.
I thought I previously stated that, but yes, with
It's just
recommended
yeah.
conditions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
For Ginny's
Wait.
purposes.
Yes.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Member Small?
Yes.
Member Mulholland?
Reluctantly, yes.
Vice Chair Bomar?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Congratulations.
Good luck with that, all of that.
So, those are the cases. Anything else the board would like to discuss? There is, I was informed yesterday that we have a new board member joining us who will be replacing Chair Skipper, who's been the chair of this board for as long as I can remember. So we'll be sad to see him go, but I met the new member. I think we'll do some kind of introduction to the next meeting just so we can see her. I would reach out to, Commissioner Wisnicki and Commissioner Marriott were appointed yesterday. So, not appointed, but sworn in as the elected officials. And
Well, they were sworn in before.
yeah, but we had the election and they ran unopposed, so now their two-year term starts. I would reach out to any of your commissioners. I know that we brought up reappointments and boards, and so if you have an interest in staying on the board, it may be a good idea to have a conversation with them, if any of them have changed. Besides that,
Well,
I think we
some of
have.
them continue, so it's just a continuation, correct? of-
Yeah. I just know other board members have been reaching out, because usually when elections occur, like that happened, we allow, it's kind of the starting place for board members to either reappoint or find new board members or, things of that nature. So as a courtesy, I'm just letting you know, if you have an interest in staying, unless you've had those conversations, it may not be a bad idea to just reach out to your commissioner and express that. I want to say we have 4 cases.
We do have 4 cases on for next meeting of April 24th.
Okay. So I'm assuming I'll just be staying as chair?
Yeah, unless you've, well, what we'll do is once we should have elected them today, but we don't have a full board. So as a courtesy, once we have a full board, we'll elect a chair now that Chair Skipper's gone, and we'll elect a vice chair. Because like I said, March is when we
Normally would do the
redo it.
re-election.
Right.
So that'll be something on the agenda, will be the election of the chair and vice chair.
Will that be for next month or the month after?
April 24th. Hopefully everyone can show up
Okay.
so that we can have a full board and have a good, healthy debate or discussion. Besides that, I have nothing else. But is there any questions or anything the board would like to talk about?
I had one, I forgot what it was. So should that be part of the agenda, the ex parte in the beginning to cover that? I mean, instead of us, if we don't mention it, or sometimes we mention it in the beginning.
Yeah, I'll take that one. That should have been on.
Well, I'm just saying, if we have it in the, you know, like right after the roll call or something like that.
I don't know if we should put it in the agenda. I guess I can talk to staff about that. It's more of a procedural thing every time we get to the case.
Okay. You could cover that.
You know, and we do have two new, you know, we have a new board member, we have another new board member. If you guys remember last year, maybe October, I kind of gave like a little 45-minute workshop.
Yes.
I think it was one of your first meetings. And we kind of went through the procedure. If you're open to it, these meetings usually go kind of quick. Maybe we can do something like that, like a little refresher course,
Yeah, it's always good.
just to kind of remind everyone. Additionally, the clerk's office and I will be putting together the public records and sunshine law presentation, shooting for June or July. So we'll start sending out some of those dates so that you guys can, we usually pick 2 dates so you can attend.
Seems like we just did it.
Wasn't that long.
Time flies, right?
Yes, it does.
Time
Almost
flies.
Easter.
I know. But yeah, nothing further. If there's no
Okay.
other discussion.
Do you-
Any discussion from the board? Nope. I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Yes.
Okay.
Meeting adjourned.
Okay.
There it is. The best part.
The best part.
Bam.